Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am Dr. Andrew Scaff. He is Dr. Michael Werman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll be talking about the horrible Royals situation that we're dealing with right now. As you can see, we've both switched over to a Chiefs gear for today's show, rather than showing our Royals colors and possibly a silent-esque protest, but now it's
Yes.
spoken, so maybe not. We'll be talking about the NBA playoffs a little bit, but we'll kick off today's show with the NHL playoffs. Florida has now taken a 3-2 lead, a decisive Game 5 victory. Mike, are you all in on Florida now, or are you holding out hope for a Canadian Stanley Cup champion?
I'm still holding out hope for a Canadian champion. I think Florida will probably win. They've either lost very close games or they've won decisive games. The Oilers have really had to claw for every game that they've won. So it seems like the Panthers can at least win games without having to, basically use everything that's in the tank.
Yeah.
So it seems like they have the advantage here. Unless we have some close games, maybe Edmonton can claw back. But that's a lot of psychological toll, you would think. As time goes on, can we come back again? Can we eke out a close victory again? Two games in a row.
Right.
Next game is going to be in Miami, so that's going to be a difficult one to win. Although you could say if they win that game, game seven, they might have the advantage going back. So it's still I guess anybody's series, but it's tough to win two in a row when the other team only has to win one. So Florida definitely has the advantage, but I still think that Edmonton can come back. They did go to seven games last year, I believe. So
Yeah. After being
you
down
know,
3-0 even.
need another out, and they didn't. I don't think they had game seven in Edmonton. I think they lost it in Miami.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see what happens. What do you think's gonna go down in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals? Do you think it's going to be a yet another American team, yet another warm weather American team claiming victory, an undeserved victory over a hard, a hard scrabble, gritty Canadian city that lives and dies for hockey against Miami, you know, city that probably, I'd say half the residents don't even know they have a team. Uh,
Yeah, and they don't really support even the warm weather sports franchises all that well most of the time. So what do they care, right? There's more to do there, I guess, than just sports, but nah.
yeah, I
And yeah,
don't.
but yeah, cold weather sport in late mid to late June though too, right? That seems to be maybe that should be a good spot for people to go though. It should be cooler in the arena than it is outside. So
Yeah, yeah.
they should have good attendance right now. But I think yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, down 3-2, the advantage is pretty heavily in the favored side, the who's up in the series. So yeah, I'm kind of resigned to expecting the another warm weather champion and another unfortunate Canadian loss. Yeah. I
Well,
don't like it, but that's just kind of what I'm expecting at this point. I'll be pleasantly surprised though otherwise.
yeah. In the NBA, we'll have a first-time champion. Either way, we end up.
That's
It's
right.
been a surprisingly, I think, compared to most people, a surprisingly competitive series with Uh, the Thunder only taking two out of the first four games against the Pacers. 2-2 right now. It's game five going on as we speak, as we're filming this on a Monday this week because of travel plans that I have this coming week and into next week. So we have an early edition. We had a late edition of the Power Hour last week. We have an early edition this week, and we'll see if might have another late edition next week. But we will keep churning out these Warren Trek Power hours as the weeks continue. But right now, it's 64 to 53. The Thunder are up by 11 points with about 9.5 minutes left in the third. So still a lot of basketball left to play, and probably this game will be still going on when we finish our episode tonight. So you listeners will know what will happen. Um, Do you think maybe the question should be, Dr. Scaff, does Indiana have a shot to win if they do not take game five?
Ooh. I think it's pretty tough. Yeah, I think if Oklahoma City takes control of the series with a win, actually being ahead for the first time in the series, I'm afraid that one's going to be over too.
Yeah,
Is that what you're thinking, or do you think are you more hopeful for Indiana
I
than
don't
I am
think
right now?
Indiana can win a game seven in Oklahoma City. I think that I would also I think they can I don't know. I think I guess they can. I guess technically they can. They've won a game in Oklahoma City already. But
Game one, they won game
game
one.
one. I think though that in some ways they may have maxed out their, you know, level of ability at this point. They've taken they've gone to
They've hit
four
their ceiling.
games. I think they've hit, yeah, I think maybe they've hit their ceiling. They aren't as talented or as deep as Oklahoma City, although they have a fairly deep bench, but I don't think they don't have quite the firepower that Oklahoma City has, at least when they're firing on all cylinders. But I think if they can sneak away with this game, yeah, then I think they could sneak away with the series. Um, Maybe it's not really sneaking away if they win the series, but they win a seven-game series. But I think being down now they're down 14, so they are you know they'll have to have a fairly major comeback tonight to get into the catbird seat for game six. Then I think they could win it, but I think Oklahoma City is the team to beat. I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma City wins tonight and wins game six. That would be most I think the most likely scenario if they win tonight. So, but you never know. Indiana has been a feisty bunch. They've clawed their way through the Eastern Conference. They've beaten one number one seed team already in Cleveland, so maybe they can do it again. But what do you think? Do you think Oklahoma City, if they so if Oklahoma City's up 3-2, do they have a better shot at winning the NBA championship than Florida does being up 3-2?
Probably about the same, really, because they're both kind of the stronger team that were expected to at least. I had a slight edge probably at that point, except Oklahoma City, I think, was expected to have a major edge. So,
Yeah.
but being up 3-2 is usually more. I mean, it's the preferred way to be, right? Going into a game six is being ahead.
Mhm.
So yeah, you at least have two shots, two bites at the apple to finish the series. But I mean, the NBA playoffs have had a lot of dramatic late comebacks, though, so it's kind of hard to write off any team.
Mhm.
At maybe even especially in the third quarter anyway. But I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like this run's about to end, though, too, having
Mhm.
already exceeded their expectation probably for these playoffs. I think most like the betting lines and the analysts seem to think this is going to be a really short series, shorter than it's already been.
Yeah, this fifth
So
game, it'll go at least six games. I think a lot of players, a lot of pundits thought it would be done in five at
yeah,
most. So yeah, it's been already a better series than we thought. I think everybody thought the hockey series
yeah,
was going to be competitive. Partly, I think that's maybe the nature of hockey. It's a little bit more random each game because there are fewer points that are scored. Each point is worth much more than each individual basketball point when it's one out of a hundred plus versus one out of five to five-ish in a hockey game.
right.
Um, so yeah, I'm still hopeful. I don't. I guess I want Oklahoma City to win just simply because I predicted them to win. I don't really have a preference over Indiana or Oklahoma City. Uh, I definitely am leaning pro Edmonton to win, and I'll be somewhat disappointed if they lose to Florida, just because I don't think Florida. I guess it'll be a nice story, I'm sure, for Florida, and they have a well-deserving, well-run franchise and good players and things like that. But I just don't think the Miami area deserves back-to-back NHL Stanley Cup championships. It's yeah, that's I don't know. It's rewarding. It's rewarding a city that doesn't need rewarding, and didn't do anything probably to you know earn such a reward. Where I think
The city itself, like the franchise is
I'm
apparently
sure it's
run
well
quite
run.
well,
Well,
right?
it's
Yeah.
probably it's well run. I'm sure, but it's not the city itself. You think of the fans who support the teams. I guess Miami probably they probably sell out a lot of their games in the playoffs and stuff like that. But maybe most of the games they do. But Miami's metro area is much bigger than Edmonton's as well. So um,
Yeah.
I don't. What do you think Edmonton's population is?
In comparatively, or
Yeah, Edmonton metro area population.
I have absolutely no clue, but I'm gonna guess it's like considerably smaller than Miami. It's maybe less than a third, probably, of Miami, maybe less
Yeah.
than a fifth. I'll say one fifth of Miami's because I
Okay.
actually don't know what Miami's population is either,
You
but
might
I
be
bet
about
it's
right. The
less.
city, so Edmonton, the combined census metropolitan area of Edmonton, according to Wikipedia in 2021 is about 1.4 million. That's about 3 years ago, or 4 years ago now. Um, Miami's metropolitan area is 6.45 million. So you said 5 times, is that what you said?
I said Edmonton was less than one fifth of
Less than
Miami.
1/5. You would be correct.
I mean, it's very close. Like if the over under was one fifth, that would have been a pretty good line
Yeah, if 1.4
to
times
place.
well, 1.4 times 5, I guess would be
It's gonna
25.6,
be over six.
would be 7 million.
Yeah. Was it
Uh
1.4? Was that what it was?
1.4, and Miami is 6.45, so I think
Yeah,
Miami is
so it's over one fifth then, but not by much.
not by much. Yeah. Uh
Yeah.
and that's yeah. Um you could I say let's see if you go to their combine let's see if we can the definitions of the metropolitan area could be monkeyed with a little bit.
If you
Um,
just said Edmonton proper, maybe. That's what I meant. Is that not what you said?
well, Miami proper is not a huge city.
That's
Uh,
why I assumed it would be the other way around. Because you did say it was Edmonton's like
I meant
statistical
metropolitan
area.
area, yeah, because Miami
Yeah.
as a city is not a very big place. Miami as a city, its population estimated is 487,000.
It's pretty close to the size of Kansas
Kansas,
City,
yeah,
Missouri proper.
yeah.
Yeah.
Edmonton, Canada, population is city population is over 1 million. So there's not
Oh.
much metro in Edmonton. It's basically the city and I guess a few smaller suburbs, but Miami, it's mostly satellite cities and adjacent cities, suburban cities that make up the most of the population. Yeah, although Miami has been growing quite a bit lately. And maybe I don't know if they annexed some areas or not, or what, I don't know, had built some new housing because it had been hovering in the 300,000s for a long time. And then suddenly it's bumped up 10% since 2010, 2020, and then 2024 up 10 more percent. So I'm not exactly sure what is going on in Miami, but
Probably taken on some other city has joined them or something to that effect, right?
oh, I see. 2000, 2010, spurred by high-rise construction in downtown Miami, Edgewater, and Brickell, Miami's population began to grow quickly once more. So the Miami's metro, so it's high-rise downtown population.
So the population density is increasing, but the size of the city is
Yeah.
staying the same.
hmm
Yeah, that makes sense.
Miami's Manhattanization, they call it.
Upward mobility.
Yes. Uh,
Have you done a high rise living at any point in
I
your
have.
life?
When I was living in New Haven, I lived in a building that was probably 20 stories tall, but I was only on the seventh floor. Uh,
Yeah,
it's the highest I've been. Elizabeth in Washington, in New York now might be in a fairly high-rise building, but when I was with her, she was only like on the third floor of a brownstone kind of house, so it was not
yeah.
high-rise living at that point. So I've lived
Multi-story, but not high rise.
Totally story, yeah. When I was in a dorm in Arkansas that was maybe 8 or 10 stories, but I was only on the fifth floor. So I've never been. Seventh floor was my highest that I've lived. Have you lived? You lived in a fairly you lived in a high rise. You went like the ninth floor,
I've
right?
lived in a couple actually. Yeah, I was on the eighth floor of one building downtown, the Manhattan,
Oh, then you lived in that one.
and then the 911 Main Street
I
was
don't
the
know.
Commerce building was I was on the 22nd floor of that building
That's
though.
pretty
So
high. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's really high.
So yeah, that one had a pretty it had an okay view. The view at the from the side of the building that I was on was like kind of the top of another building, so it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
super exciting. I mean, you can see if you look in different directions, you can see a lot more of
Yeah,
the city, but yeah, it wasn't like the cleanest view. It needed to be up a few more floors for that.
I had a nice view of the Yale campus when I was in New Haven on the seventh floor, but they have since built a building. I've looked on Google Maps. They've since built a building that would have uh, gotten right in the way of that view, so I would no longer have
Constructed view.
a view of the Yale campus from that floor. I'd have to probably be on the 15th floor to get the view. They decided. I think it was the same apartment complex. They just tore down a parking garage and built a new uh, fairly high-rise building in front. So yeah, I'm when I lived there, I had the best of best view that I could possibly have, and now it's no longer available. But yeah, I never lived in a um, any higher than I've only been on the seventh floor. Uh, I wonder what the highest, like if you compared the average person in the United States. Um, what the highest floor they have lived on. Do you think it's over or under two?
Yeah, I would say yeah, you want to put the over under real low, like yeah, like two and a half or something like that.
Yeah,
But
maybe
it's
2 points, maybe 2 point something you might put it at.
yeah,
Because a lot of
somewhere
people have
around that
two-story
area.
houses.
Yeah, but yeah, it's uncommon for a not a fairly wealthy person to have a three-story home
Uh-huh.
or more. But there are a lot of people that live in cities with lots of high rises, and there are very tall buildings in some states. So
Yeah.
I'd still go under, I think, on that. If it's like two and a half, I think I'd take the under. If it's like two even, I'd probably take the over. So it's probably gonna be somewhere between two and two and a half would be my expectation,
Mm-hmm.
or the average would be. Do you have a thought on this one, or
I'm trying to
or,
look it
or do
up.
you actually know this? Did
I
you already
don't
think of this
know
ahead of
this.
time?
I'm trying to look it up. I think in some places the average will be a lot higher. Like if you go to New York, it's going to be higher.
Right.
But most cities, you know, because it was is it, you want to go with the average, you want to go with the median. Maybe the median might be the best because somebody who lives on the 99th floor is gonna take a lot of um, to really affect the average.
Disproportionately, yes.
But maybe the median and the average are probably somewhat close. I would guess if it's large enough. Um,
Right. The distribution can be a little high enough, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. A great, like a fairly large percentage of the population is relatively rural,
Hmm.
and most of the people that would be, in that rural category have probably never lived above a first floor, realistically. Oh, and then what if you count somebody that's like only lived in someone's basement though? Would that be
Ooh, that would be a negative one. Yeah,
would you get a negative one, or is that just like
I think you should.
one of the lower floors?
I think you have to. I think you have to give it a negative one if you're going to give.
Yeah. And then you'll have all the bunker people that may live underneath the basement. They might be like -2, -3 even, right?
Sub basements, sub basements.
Sub basements, yes.
Yeah, I don't.
We didn't know we were going to be talking about this today, Mike. So
No, I can't find any good information, at least just from a cursory internet search. Um,
we'll have to get the boys in the lab on this and have a good answer for next time.
yeah, uh, yeah. There's no. Yeah, nothing good. I can't find.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there is a study on that the average floor of the person lives on. But I'm sure,
Yeah.
like here in Cumberland area, in the Cumberland metropolitan statistical area, or maybe it's the Cumberland micropolitan area. I'm not sure if I think it's metropolitan in Cumberland. I don't think it's
Right.
metro. Um, well, I have a two-story house. I am primarily on the second floor because that's where I sleep on the second floor. Um, my garage is on the first floor. My kitchen is actually on the second floor as well. It's like a kind of a raised, what they call a raised ranch house. Um, so, but it's yeah. So, and then yeah, you do have a lot of floors with a lot of one-story homes with like a sort of a walkout basement. What do you call that? Is that a basement floor? Is that a first floor? I think you got to call it the basement.
What about split levels where you have
What
like
levels? Yeah,
you only go up like half a floor to like part of the house, and then maybe that goes up to the a
one and a
second
half.
floor, but it's like
Yeah,
1.5 floor. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that has to be part of the calculation. Um,
Yeah. But you'd have to classify all that first. So it'd be a lot of work to get to put the numbers even together. So, but yeah, the finding the right search terms to ask these questions might be a challenge in itself, as long as someone's already done this kind of
yeah.
investigation before. But yeah, we'll have to get the boys in the lab on it and see if they can
Like,
find
I don't
in
know
the
if
next week.
I don't know if we'll be able to get this by next week or not, but we'll see.
I don't
Um,
expect it. Yeah.
I think the boys in the lab will have an easier time trying to figure out how the Royals could win games over the next week. They've been mired in a slump for the last month, it seems like probably. They were, they had a 16-2 stretch kind of after after a not so good opening stretch. I think there's six or eight games under 500. Then they went 16-2, went above 500, and stayed over 500 until this most recent losing streak, which has caused them to lose six straight games. Now they're four games under 34 and 38. As we near the midpoint of the season, they're going to begin a road trip starting in uh, Texas, starting technically in Arlington, Texas. At Texas, the Rangers. There's
Yes.
other teams that they can play in Texas. Do you think that the Texas Rangers should be called the Texas Rangers if there's another team in the state?
Yeah, it's too general though, right? I guess that's what is that why the California Angels became the
Well, I think
well
they want
they've
to
been
associate with Los Angeles.
yeah.
But yeah, there's
Well they became Anaheim first, I guess, right? And then the
Anaheim.
Anaheim Angels of
Yeah,
or the Los Angeles Angels
Los
of
Angeles
Anaheim.
of
That's what it
Anaheim,
refers. But now they've just dropped that last part,
the
so now
Los
it's just
Angeles
the Los
Angels.
Angeles
Yeah.
Angels. But
But Golden
yeah,
State is like that too. They're the Golden State Warriors, even though they are there are multiple teams in California.
yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, like Texas Rangers, that has like a connotation to it
Walker,
from
Texas Ranger,
right. I think
or
they probably
the
want to maintain that. So
yes the but still, I
yeah,
don't know. It's one of those things where you have the Indiana Pacers. That's the only team in Indiana, or there's you only have Minnesota Vikings are the only call it the only professional football team in Minnesota. There aren't like multiple
And
teams
then
there.
the Twins
So
too
that's
for
maybe another
baseball.
reason to dislike the Florida Panthers because there are the Tampa Bay Lightning there. They should be the Miami Panthers. They're claiming to represent an entire state that has other teams there. So yeah, I don't care for that nomenclature.
Yeah, because the Florida Marlins became the
Miami Marlins.
Miami Marlins. Is that do you think it was because of that too, or
I think they
they
want to
wanted
identify
more
more
local
with the city that they're
representation?
local. Yeah, I think they want,
Yeah.
but like well, the question is, are the New York Knicks and New York Rangers, New York
Mm,
Yankees, are they city of New York or are they state of New York?
yeah.
Or-
See.
Even though they play in New Jersey, some of these, the Giants and the Jets, um, the only team that's
Right.
really specific is the Brooklyn Nets at this point.
So
They were
I assume of the New York franchises, they're the one that you prefer the most because they have gone specific.
you would think so, but I don't really care for the Nets that much. Maybe it's the Jay-Z connection. I don't. I like the New Jersey. I like the New Jersey Nets better when they played in New Jersey. Uh,
No.
because they have that Dr. J uh, attachment that way. But yeah, I guess you say the New York Islanders. Think of they at least associate with Long Island with the Islander. Uh,
Yeah.
with the Islander name. But you also have, I guess, the Buffalo teams are also New York. Do that? Yeah, I guess you would say the New York. It's probably New York City is what they would because it's New York, New York. So you could pick. You could say either one. Um,
I think the Yankees are probably the ones that are like most specifically New York City. I think with some of their logos and stuff like that, it seems like it's more
mhm.
intentionally New York City, not just ambiguously one or the other.
Well, like you might remember in the MLS, the original name for what I think it's Red Bull New York now or FC New York. I don't know what it was the New York New Jersey Metro Stars. Do you remember that?
I forgot about
They were
that.
the New York New Jersey Metro Stars. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. So they got even more generic then.
yeah. So yeah, you have New York
So
City.
broad that it's not just the one state.
Yeah.
It's
So
both.
in New York for the MLS, it's the New York City FC, and then New York Red Bulls.
Yeah.
So one is definitely New York City, uh, and they play at Yankee Stadium
Oh,
primarily.
I didn't even realize that. I've sort of like gotten
Although they
away
play
from following
sometimes,
the MLS.
well, they play sometimes in City Field. They're going to build a new stadium in Queens called Etihad Park, uh, named after the designed by architecture firm HOK, of course.
Oh.
Uh, Etihad. Etihad, I think, is also the name of Arsenal's stadium. I think is the Etihad Stadium. Um, but Helmuth Obata in Casablanca.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you know that's what that was, or
I knew that's what it was,
okay, yeah.
but I know that as HOK they've kind of gone back and forth to what they're called. Like they were Populous for a while, now they're HOK Group. It says it's headquartered in St. Louis now. Is that
Well,
new?
so HOK split into HOK and HOK Sport. HOK Sport became Populous, and Populous is still in Kansas City. HOK, the original HOK, what was left on that split, uh, I believe we're not making stadiums after the split. But I believe now they have gone back to making stadiums. So they are the original HOK is back, but Populous also still exists as far as I know.
Oh, I see. So Populous is still around.
So that was what was HOK Sport.
That was HOK Sports. So now HOK is back to making
Yeah,
stadiums, even though they're no longer called HOK Sport. I see.
I believe that's true. It's possible I've got some of that wrong though over the past.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah. But it is odd. There are a lot of like sports like architectural firms in the Kansas City area specifically, and also just the
Mm.
Midwest in general, which is a little
They trace
seemingly odd, right?
Many of them say I saw they trace their lineage back to Kivett and Myers,
Myers, yeah.
which was what built the Truman Sports Complex. And
And
HNT,
also built the hideous building that I worked in at UMKC for quite some time.
mm, and HNTB is one of the current.
Hmm.
Uh, I think because they bought Kivett and Myers, but they're
Yeah,
one of the current architectural firms that is based in Kansas City that has built many sports complex
yeah.
things. So anyway, yeah, the
But
airports.
it does seem kind of odd that, if you decide you're going to like have a stadium constructed, you may be having like several firms based in Kansas City bidding against each other
Yeah,
for your work, even if your stadium is, located nowhere near Kansas City. But it just seems odd, right? That there'd
yeah,
be that much competition in a city that's not really full of stadia, right?
yes,
There are a few, but it's not like an overwhelming number of that type of structure. Yeah.
yes, I agree. Well, we don't. I guess the question is, we don't know where the new Royals Stadium or the new Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium will be. If but we did have the approval, but it was signed by the governor of Missouri
Mm.
recently to try to keep the teams in Missouri. Speaking of location specific names, so the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals, both right now are technically also based in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. Uh,
Mm.
one of the I think one of the potential stadium sites for the Chiefs, at least, is the Legends, and that technically would be in Kansas City, Kansas. Uh,
Yeah.
but a couple of the other Royals stadium sites possibly include the North Kansas City uh, uh, park, or on the site of the former NKC Pro Bowl, and then the Overland Park Asperia slash Sprint campus, which seems just like a dumb. It's nothing even close to downtown. Um, anyway,
Yeah. It would be a disaster if they choose that.
I think it'd be interesting if they built right on the state line a stadium. They could in the West Bottoms build on the state line.
Right. Or you'd
Um,
have like home runs that leave the state, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Or like a foul ball would go into Kansas versus Missouri or something. That would be the state. The state line could be the foul line.
Yeah. See, that's already far more interesting than anything that I've heard from the team on this topic. So,
Yeah.
like, why are you not running this team?
I should be. Well, you should be you should be running the day-to-day operations, considering the which pitchers to call upon, which ones to take out, lineup construction, things like that. I could be looking for the useless gimmicks that go along with running a team.
You want to be the Charlie Finley
The Finley
guy.
character,
That's right. Yes.
yes, the donkeys mowing the grass or whatever he has, or um, putting up little people to bat so they will not strike out, or uh, so their strike zone is inordinately small, things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Um, but I like the baseline on the, uh, or I guess you could have the fence line also be where the state line is, but because the state line is a straight line, uh, at that point, I think having a fair foul line, fair ball territory would be Missouri, foul would be in Kansas. The dugout
Yeah.
maybe could be located on the first base side in Kansas. The field mostly in Missouri. State, just fans could pick which side of the stadium they wanted to sit on, the Kansas side
Yeah.
or the Missouri side. I think
Yeah,
a lot of, but there's a lot of room in the West Bottoms. I guess it's still technically a floodplain, but um,
well,
Kemper
that's
Arena,
probably the riskiest part about it.
Kemper Arena didn't really flood. That wasn't its problem. It had some other structural issues and things like
Yeah,
that. But yeah, I think there's room in the West Bottoms for a baseball stadium, and that would also afford a look at the skyline if it were there facing, um, the home plate facing
like east,
southeast kind of. Yeah,
south, yeah, somewhere in
yeah,
that
east southeast.
range.
If you want, I guess you want it facing southeast because then that way you can have the parallel, uh, because it'd be diagonally fit southeast, and the first base line would be the could be the Missouri Kansas state line that way.
Yeah. See,
Uh,
I think you've already put more thought into this than about like the situation of the like how the stadium is situated, more than I think the Royals have considered a lot of this.
yeah, it could be right where State Line Road, built where State Line Road is. There's a few little things there, but it's not like it's um,
A former multinational corporation headquarters with many buildings and like 70% occupancy right now that have to be torn
yeah.
down and relocated.
It also has newly redesigned. Then they do work on I-70 that goes through there. Is that finished yet? Uh, they were doing
Oh,
70 670 work.
yeah. So yeah, 169 where it meets 70 has been completely redone, and there's this giant like flyover basically ramp to connect directly to I-70 or and I-35, like where they meet on the northwest side of downtown. So you no longer have to like get off on the like on Broadway and then get onto one of the other highways there. So that part of it's nice, and it was a long construction project, but it's finally open.
Yeah. And it would finally, you would think, revitalize the West Bottoms. They already are kind of a cool place to live uh
Yeah,
now, but it's right in the middle, heart of Kansas City, state line between Kansas City, Missouri and Kansas City, Kansas. Uh Reachable by a large number of highways.
streetcar isn't that far away from. It's to the River Market, so the River Market to West Bottoms isn't terribly far. So like a branch of the streetcar could be constructed to attach the
Yeah,
existing
it could go
line.
through one of the old incline bridges or whatever that connect through um downtown. They used to have a like an elevator, I think, for a long time ago for trains and things like that that went up
The
downtown. But yeah, that's where I would build it. That's my right on State Line Road.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time talk that they would like build a deck over the top of either 70 or 670 on the south
Hmm.
side of town, or the south side of downtown, or the north side of downtown. Uh, and then have it so they can face
Hmm.
whichever part of downtown. But that seems like a more of a construction feat that would be necessary rather than
Yeah,
building it in an area that you could just build on as is and not have to like construct the ground
yeah,
for the stadium to even occupy, right? Yeah.
agreed. Well, we spent more time talking about the new stadium than we have about the current construction of the Royals team, which is not going so well. Cole Reagans is back on the injured list with a rotator cuff issue, which doesn't sound good. Um, the Royals pitching staff has been knocked around a little bit lately, especially with the Yankees. They also are swept by the lowly homeless A's. So they've lost six in a row. Is this time that the Royals need to do they Royals need to really turn things around quickly, or is still a long season? We shouldn't panic yet. What's your opinion, Dr. Scaff?
Well, I think the big factor right now is that they are starting to get some boos in the stadium even about their performance. So, and that's the kind of thing that usually is a prelude to some kind of change in the organization, whether it's demotion of players or firing of coaches or firing of staff. something, seems like it needs to change. Usually if the Royals fans are being vocal about their disappointment, then somebody is eventually going to have to be held accountable, I would assume. So I expect something will have to happen here fairly soon. I'm a little surprised that something didn't happen today, which was an off day. That would kind of be the time to sort of quietly make a move without, disrupting the day of a game with something like that. So I think this is more of the Royals not knowing how to handle anything and not being decisive enough on how to handle things. So what about you, Mike? Do you think the hitting has not been great? Do you think it's more likely that the pitching staff can return to their early season glory, or that the hitters will come around sort of collectively as a group to help them get back into these series?
Well, I don't know. I think it's more likely the pitching staff. Pitching staff has been pretty good. I think the bullpen usage has been a little bit off. That's a Quatrero issue, and I don't know if that's going to be rectified or not. But the base, I think the real problem is the lack of offense. When the Royals score early, they can't score late. When they're behind, they can't catch up and take the lead. They can't extend leads. They don't. It's the offense that runs into a lot of problems. Especially, it seems like lately there's been a lot of problems with runners in scoring position. They were, I think, 1 for 31 against the Yankees, and probably something similar against the A's. They don't hit enough home runs. They don't, um, they just don't hit. And part of it, I think, is that they need kind of a superhuman Bobby Witt at the middle of the lineup to be competitive. If uh, and if he's not, he's only playing moderately well. He's not, by anybody else's standards, he's playing very well, but by Witt's standards, he's not playing terribly well. His home run numbers are down. His average is down. Um, Michael Garcia has been playing pretty well. That's about it, though, for the offense. Everybody else has had a down year, basically, or they're, not, they're Jason Isbell, or they're not Jason Kyle Isbell, not Jason Isbell is the musical artist. Kyle,
Musician or something else, yeah.
yeah, Kyle Isbell, or Nick Lofton, or people like that. They're doing okay, but even if they're just doing okay, like they're not enough to carry a lineup. They're just kind of they're not
Right.
sinkholes in the lineup, which is better than the Royals have had. So, um, but yeah, they
Well, like
have
having a nine hitter that's hitting like around 270 for the
yeah, that's
Royals,
pretty good.
that's absolutely amazing. Like their
Yeah,
nine hitters have usually been, you
yeah,
know, performing much below that. So,
yeah,
that's kind of a big improvement. But
you'd hope.
when no one else can get hits, then it doesn't
Yeah,
really
it doesn't really
make that much of a
matter.
difference. But it's not by any means Isbell's fault for any of
No,
that, right? So,
Yeah,
but
Pasquantino's been playing quite a bit better.
he's
Uh,
ticked up in the last couple of weeks, so he has shown
yeah,
some signs of more activity, I guess.
India still needs to turn things around.
But now
He's
he
been
has a
a
shoulder
little better.
injury
Shoulder
too,
injury is going
so
to hurt him. I don't know. This might be Perez's last real season. He seems to be hit a wall in some ways.
well,
Uh,
I've watched a lot of Sal's at bats, and I do think that he is like trying to do more than he needs to. So it seems like it's one of those things like where somebody like is trying to put the team on the back and is just trying so hard that it's actually making things worse than better. Because it seems like he's moved closer to the plate because I don't think he's getting a lot of pitches to hit in the zone. So
hmm.
he's like trying to be able to like reach the outside pitches. And then it just leads to like, chasing more and more pitches, especially down and away. And like last season, he had like one of the highest batting averages of his career. And some of that seemed like his approach had changed a lot. Like he was being more aggressive on the first couple of pitches and then just sort of going with whatever he got late in the count, going to opposite field a lot of times. He's seems to have abandoned that approach entirely. So, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that like his struggles could be avoided if they had someone that could actually articulate that to him. And I think that seeing everyone in the lineup struggling is a systemic problem, and it has to be somebody in the organization that's responsible for
Yeah,
that, or at least helping to get them out of this.
hitting coach need to change. Sometimes that help.
That
Even
seems like the easiest
yeah,
place to like pin some blame as a franchise. Just whether or not they believe that it's the hitting coach's fault. It seems like that
and
would be
sometimes
your
it just turns
scapegoat.
things
That's an
around just to get
easy
a new person
scapegoat.
there. You might remember that
Yeah,
when the 24 this is the 2014 Royals were struggling. All they did was change hitting coaches when they put George Brett and was it Grifol who was the co-hitting coach at that point. Uh,
right.
and then they turned things around, even though it probably wasn't a whole lot difference in terms of philosophy or things like that. Sometimes just putting a new face in there can change things up, or at
Yeah,
least it makes it look like you're trying, and you can kind of point to something. Oh, there's something going on there.
absolutely.
Yeah, there's been, and I guess there are a couple other big Major League Baseball pieces of news that are out there right now. One is that Shohei Ohtani is pitching again. Uh, he's pitching his first game tonight. His team's already down 1-0 though against the Padres. The Dodgers are. But there's also a big trade of Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. What do you think the Red Sox are thinking in trading away their best player, cornerstone player?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Devers was not very happy with the acquisition of Alex Bregman at the before this season started, and had been very vocal about it too. So it seems like, he's become sort of disgruntled, and maybe they're sort of passing him off just so they don't have to deal with him anymore. And it's been kind of a trend with them. There's been several players who have opted out of contracts or demanded trades to get out of Boston. So it seems like there are issues there too that I'm actually not sure which issues you'd rather deal with, like what the Royals are going through right now, or what Boston must be going, because they can't keep their stars there. And they're known to shell out big contracts, and even that isn't enough to keep people in Boston, keep people happy in Boston. That seems like a whole different sort of problem to deal with
Yeah,
than what we're typically
yeah,
discussing on
yeah.
this show with our Russ, because they just don't have the money to throw around like that to try to
Yeah.
keep people
Bregman's
happy.
been good, but he's injured now. They also they have their own kind of Jack Caglione type player, Roman Anthony, who's been called up. He was I think the number one prospect in all of baseball, and he's going to probably play more with Devers out of the lineup. I think
Yeah,
so. I think it seems like the Red Sox have, I don't know, they have a lot of players, and they can. It's one of the teams also, like you said, they could buy a player if they needed to at the deadline. Uh,
yeah.
Even though they're struggle, they're kind of middling like the Royals are at this point. But yeah, maybe just getting maybe it is sort of addition by subtraction. Um, you allow a very good player to go someplace else. You get pitching, I think they got in return. So,
I got a
um,
pretty good haul, I think,
mhm.
in return. Yeah, but I mean, did you see how much is left on Devers' contract though? That's
313 million or something. Was that what it was?
I think maybe that was the whole contract. There's like
Okay.
250 left on it, I think, and maybe
Hmm.
like 8 seasons or something. So that's a lot
Yeah.
to transfer to another team. So they're a little lucky that someone was willing to take it on. But I think that's opportunistic though too, right? So it's
Yeah.
early enough in the contract that it could still pay off. Although I'm not sure how much do you see how much of the contract is being picked up by the Giants, or
I think they're picking
or
up
is
the whole
Boston
thing,
eating a lot of
basically.
it?
I think they're picking up the whole thing, basically. Um,
So the Giants are taking on the contract.
yeah, I think so. I think the
So
Giants
that so they're
are
confident in that Devers
he's
is,
gonna play well. Yeah, I think they're just
yeah,
desperate to keep up the arms race with the rest of the NL West, since
yeah,
the Padres are good. The Diamondbacks have been good as well. Maybe not this year, but in the past, they've.
yeah.
I haven't paid attention to the NL West standings this year.
Hmm.
Uh,
The Giants
the
are up close to the top, aren't they? Aren't they like neck and neck
Giants
with the
are two
Dodgers right
games
now?
behind the Dodgers. The
Yeah,
Padres are a game behind them, and the Diamondbacks are only a couple games. Yeah, I guess the Rockies are the team that really skews that division. So yeah,
right.
um, yeah, every
Overall, they seem fairly average, but
the
they're not by
Diamondbacks
any means
are
average
yeah,
division.
Diamondbacks are 6.5 out of first. So like there's four competitive teams, one Rockies. So
Yeah.
anyway, well that's. I don't know if do you have anything else to say about the world of Major League Baseball? Update on the NBA Finals. We have in the fourth quarter now, 94 to 89 Thunder. So five point difference with 9 minutes left. So still a lot of time left in the game. So could be a Pacers comeback here. They're keeping it close.
Yeah, if it's close, they've got a shot. They've got because Halliburton's had a tendency for hitting last second shots, especially in like this
Hmm.
playoffs. This, from the
Yeah.
early on to now, even he's hit I think a game winner in almost every series. So uh yeah, I think if it's close, you gotta give Indiana a little bit of an edge almost.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Indiana now, Mike. I think I'm shifting that way, just knowing that new score anyway. How about
Shifting.
you? Are you sticking with
Uh,
OKC after seeing them give up about 10 points in their lead?
it's 95-90 now. I'm sticking with OKC, but I'm not as confident
Yeah,
as I was. Seeing that
shifting.
they haven't been able to put
Yeah,
the Pacers away. And the Pacers have been, like you said, good at coming back in the last seconds against. They did this against the Knicks. We've done it already against uh, the Thunder. So,
yeah.
but we've had a lot of patented last second comebacks here at the One Track Power Hour, where we think of new topics right at the end that takes us to wholly new directions. At the end of our show, but I don't know if we have any at this point. We might discuss some of those new movies coming out next time. We did talk about the new Spaceballs movie and the new Naked Gun movie. And what was we had another new um,
Um. Oh, the Happy Gilmore
Happy
sequel,
Gilmore.
like
Yeah, Happy
30
Gilmore.
something years later, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Do you think we didn't? I didn't mention this. Do you think Drew Carey is going to get in a fight with Happy
Oh, will they
with
do
Adam Sandler
Bob Barker's
instead of Bob Barker
replacement?
because he's no yeah. A because Bob
I would
Barker's
hope
dead,
so.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope that they would do that. That would be great.
Yeah, and Drew Carey hasn't done much acting, I don't think, for a long time. He's been just the game show host lately, hasn't he? He hasn't been in any
I
um
think so. I haven't heard much about him outside of Price is Right.
who is 95-93 now. Pacers are only down by two. Um I'm
I'm
looking
going.
at
I'm going all in on the Pacers now, Mike.
maybe it's just yeah, who's Drew Carey. Uh
I just because I made that comment about going all in. Did you see the betting stat on Royals home games recently?
no.
Was that they've now lost 10 straight home games in which they were the favorite. So if you're thinking about betting baseball, betting against the Royals at home, if they're the favorite, is
That's
nearly a sure thing at this point.
wow.
Is that something you're going to be considering doing, like betting against your hometown team, maybe as a consolation to a Royals loss, but maybe you'll
Make
make
a
a
little
little bit
money
of
at the
money.
end. I don't know. I don't know how well trends go in betting. Each
10 in a row and anything in baseball is
it's a lot, but
that's a lot.
each individual trial is its own new thing. Still, no player is really ever due or uh, completely necessarily mired or something. But maybe I don't know. Might be something you consider. I don't. I'm gonna keep. Well, we'll see how the Royals do on this road uh, trip, and if they come back to the homestand and they're still terrible, maybe I would consider betting against the Royals. But then they probably won't be favored if they keep losing the games either. So it won't be as um, lucrative a bet, but it's always a lucrative bet to bet on the One Track Power Hour to be around each and every week because that's what we are. So we'll be back next week with another exciting episode towards the end of next week. So this will have to get you through a little over a week. We have some big things coming up. So by the time we come back next week, the NBA Finals should be over. The Stanley Cup Finals should be over. The Royals hopefully will have figured something out. We'll be near mid-season. We're in baseball, 81 games. We'll be approaching the Major League Baseball draft as well at that point, won't we, just get when is the
A little bit late this year. I think it's in like maybe the second week of July even.
yeah, it's July 13th to 14th, so we have a bit of time.
Yeah, traditionally it was like the last week of June, I think. It was the
Yeah,
June draft.
yeah. Now it's in July.
Now it's the middle of July draft.
Did you know there's now or there's been? Did you know that the MLB Draft Combine has been around for 5 years now?
Nope, no idea.
It's scheduled at Chase Field June 17th through 21st. So it starts tomorrow,
Yes.
The MLB Combine. 174 members of the pipeline, MLB Pipeline's draft top 200 and 41 of the top 50 prospects are expected to be there. So you expect the Royals would have some people watching at the Combine. Does a Combine really matter for baseball in the way that it does for football, do you think, Dr. Scaff?
I don't would assume not so much, but I would also assume that the Royals would not know what to do with any of the information that they gather there. They don't really seem to know how to evaluate talent at any level in games or out of games. So I don't know. What would they actually gain from a combine, Mike?
Um, I don't know. They could take notes from somebody else that was sitting there trying to
Yeah.
copy the more successful franchises.
They
Um,
find somebody some name that they find interesting, or is that what it is?
like we've said, maybe they could just do better with a copy of the Baseball America handbook and just
Again, I think we should be in charge
highlight
of this,
some
Mike,
players.
because that makes more sense than what they've been doing
Yes. Well,
in general.
uh, yeah,
Except for last year, because I think Caglione was a good pick, but
yeah. But he was also when he's fell to them, so
it was
uh,
more of a consequence of him just dropping for some reason, right? Yeah.
yeah, and that was the one we would have picked probably higher than that. So
Yeah. But if he was available, I think we
we
didn't
would be
expect him
able,
to be
we
we
would have
did
been
not
able to
expect him
pick
to be
that.
available.
We would have been able to make that pick just as easily as the Royals could have made that pick.
Right.
We were talking about it as he was dropping. So,
Yeah.
uh, but
But
yeah,
we
so
kind of expected them to not take him though, right?
yeah. Well, given their past, they might not. Yeah. So, Cagliano needs to kind of turn things around. Hopefully, he'll maybe just going on the road, a little less pressure in front of road fans. He can maybe get a home run or two to get off, just to catch
Yeah.
on a good footing. So he's been
He's
hitting the
been
ball hard, but
okay.
yeah,
He has been okay though. He did that four hit game. His batting average went from like, oh something to into the twos.
yeah,
And he's had a hit or so in like most of the games since then. But
he's at 213. Yeah.
yeah, so he's dipped a little bit, but I think he had one over game, but
Mhm.
he's been okay. He's been okay. I mean, that's like that really should be somewhere around the expectation that we had for him coming up to the majors, having only spent a brief amount of time at AAA. I mean, so he's like, accustomed to like double A opponents, and now he's facing two levels higher. Like, why would we expect him to just crush the ball at the major league level, right?
Yeah,
But we did.
we did.
And so
Uh,
it's somehow disappointing.
it is, but hopefully he'll figure it
But it
out.
shouldn't be.
He's only yeah, he's just a young kid.
Yeah.
But so we'll have 10 more days or so between that now and our next One Trip Power Hour to kind of re recollect these heady days of summer, and hopefully there'll be some Chiefs news by then, and some other interesting happenings in the world of sports and entertainment, and who knows what by the time we get back. So, um, should we therefore end this week's episode of the One Trick Power Hour, Dr. Scaff, ceremonially, as we usually do?
Obviously.
As always, I am Dr. Michael Warman. He is Dr. Adrian Scaff. We are the Warren Track Power Hour. Please like and or subscribe to our YouTube channel and or our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery platforms. So whichever platform or device you tend to use regularly, you can probably find our podcast on it. Just search for Warning Track Power Hour and you should find us along with a description that Dr. Scaff meticulously puts in to each and every podcast here on uh, on the various platforms. We also have a description on each of the YouTube channel platforms as well. Plus, if you listen to the YouTube or watch the YouTube, you'll see all the interesting graphics and dazzling effects that are used. Plus, you'll be able to see your heroes for once in action on the YouTube platform. I tend to if I rewatch or watch the podcast, sometimes I listen to it on YouTube, sometimes I listen to it on the podcast, sped up a little bit, but sometimes I just listen to it uh, regular speed as well since I
10x, 20x.
20x. Fast forward. I basically what I do is fast forward it just to get to the get to the end. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you know,
whatever. Whatever floats your boat.
yes, we we failed. I think we failed to mention the uh, this is a couple of times ago. We failed to mention the Belmont Stakes horse.
No,
That was about 2 weeks ago now. Um,
well,
um, do you know who won the Belmont Stakes?
yes. It was a crushing defeat for journalism, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was Sovereignty won the Belmont
Again,
Stakes. So
same result as the Kentucky Derby, I believe, right?
yeah, so Sovereignty won, and so Sovereignty basically skipped the second one. He won the first and the third, so he perhaps ruined his own chances at winning a Triple Crown. Is that something that you were upset about? Uh,
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous to deprive the the horse racing viewers of a potential Triple Crown. I think that's like most of what people talk about related to the horse racing season is the Triple Crown race. So if you win the first one, how you can skip the second one, I don't even understand. It doesn't make sense on any level to end the Triple Crown threat before the second race even starts. I don't get it.
yeah, I don't know either.
But that is a thing that has happened, more than just this time. This was not a like groundbreaking move that has happened before. I think even maybe this trainer has even done that before, from what I heard. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, so Sovereignty, it says I was reading articles, yeah, it's going to go down as an all-time what if should Sovereignty have run the Preakness. Um, yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, we can leave off on that disappointing. No, we should have talked about it last week, but
No,
we're better late than never here at the Warranted Power Hours. Our motto: we always will hit you. We'll hit you with our hard-hitting, hair-splitting journalism. Sometimes at appropriate times, and sometimes far too late or far too early to make a difference. Just as our discussions of the upcoming Spaceballs sequel coming out in 2027, which may or may not even come to fruition, especially since Mel Brooks is already 98 years old, I think.
somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah. But let's hope he lives to a ripe old age of at least 100 and is able to be in Spaceballs to the Schwartz Awakens.
Is that the subtitle? I didn't even.
That was one of the subtitles when they were revealing that there was going to be a sequel.
Okay.
Um, but so I see.
Wasn't this supposed to be? Well, it's supposed to be something like the search for more money or something. Wasn't that what the?
Yeah,
Because they joked about it in the movie.
Yeah, that was more of a Star Trek style.
Yeah, yes. The name with the naming convention, the search
Mhm.
for, yes,
Yeah.
right.
Oh.
Yeah. But, I guess we'll find out sometime. This is one of those things that we're talking about way too early. Well, we failed to talk about something that happened recently.
Yes, that's something. That's the price you pay for the excitement of and the unpredictability of the Warren Truck Power Hour. But we wouldn't change a thing about our podcast, except if we have a large number of listeners that want us to change, then we'll change readily for you, dear viewers, dear listeners, because we want to put on the most exciting podcast west of the Pecos, or I guess we're east. We're both east of the Pecos, I believe.
This particular viewer might be west of
West.
Vegas.
Yes.
This is very targeted.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Pecos River right now. Yeah, the Pecos is not much of a river anymore.
Mm,
It goes to New Mexico and flows into it flows into the Rio Grande, of course. Uh,
oh, of course.
but yeah, it flows through Roswell, New Mexico, Carlsbad, New Mexico, and into the Rio Grande. Uh, but yeah, I think much of it's dry, I think.
Mm.
At certain times of the year. So, at least parts of it. It's in the Sangre de Cristo mountain range. And reaches near Rio Grande near Del Rio, Texas. Um, is anything, Del Rio, Texas is the home of Jessica Alba, who lived there while her father was stationed at Laughlin Air Force Base. Shawn Michaels, wrestler, also from Del Rio, Texas. Although he was born in Chandler, Arizona, it says. So, um,
You're planning your next trip on your Shawn Michaels World Tour, right?
yes. I believe Del Rio, Texas was also a place that was in No Country for Old Men.
Mm.
Maybe that was Eagle Pass. I can't remember. They're close to each other, I think. Um, but yeah, anyway, we will discuss those and other topics next week when we come back at the Warren Check Power Hour. So we'll this I think we've kind of ground to a halt here this week, uh, and we'll definitely have a much more exciting, much more uh, peppy and fast-paced, uh, hard-hitting, hair-splitting hour plus next time. So uh, as always. I'm not going to go through that again, but our Wardrobe Power Hour sign off. We've already done the Wardrobe Power Hour sign off, so I will do the sub sign off, which involves us wishing you here at the Wardrobe Power, wishing you best of luck if you're making bets this week or weekend on the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, or on Major League Baseball. We've already given you our Major League Baseball betting tip of the day, but you have to wait for a few days to capitalize on it because the Royals are playing on the road. Or you might want to just bet against the Royals because they are not doing very well. Even though that would conflict with our interests, we still give you permission to bet in whichever way that you wish, even if your interests conflict with ours in this case, because we are both fed up with the Royals right now and we want something to change. So um, we will see you back next week. Hopefully the Royals will have improved by then. Hopefully we'll have some Chiefs news by then, and we'll have some other interesting tidbits to report by then. But until then. We hope you have a nice weekend and a pleasant several days. But in particular, we wish you a good day. There we go. All right.
Or what obscure Texas town are we going to spend time on next week? You'll have to tune in to find out, right?
Del Rio.
Yes, Del Rio. I did not expect a Del Rio reference this time. So Pecos River discussion. Yeah,
Eagle Pass. I think Eagle Pass was where they were most of in. I think they went to Del Rio in No Country for Old Men.
I don't remember. I've definitely seen the movie, but I don't remember either of those town names, though.
Yeah, the that's where there was a motel in uh when Llewellyn stayed at the motel in Del Rio, he hid the briefcase full of money and the homing device in like
Yeah,
the air ducts in the motel. Do you remember that scene?
yeah, sounds familiar.
That was in Del Rio, Texas, that motel.
I would not have associated Del Rio with that scene, though. So that's a
And then he moved to a hotel in Eagle Pass.
okay. So Eagle Pass was there.
Yeah,
You were
they're both
correct.
Del Rio and Eagle Pass. Yeah, you can include this. You can include this if you want an epilogue to our episode today. But
Might
extra bonus, a bonus 2 minutes.
bonus footage.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll go in the director's cut.